All right, welcome to our gentle class today. Our theme this week is the mind. The mind is part of this greater package of who we are. So the mind is just one part of who we are. And yoga recognizes us as operating on several different levels. So we operate from our physical selves, right? Moving our bodies and feeling things. We operate from our breath, right? Our breath moves our body and helps to keep us alive. We have our mind playing into the picture, our emotions. And then deeper than all of that is something that is called spirit or soul or creator, God, whatever you like to call this deeper place that in yoga is the belief is that it lives within us and unites all of us. So today we're really going to focus on the aspect of the mind. So what I have found as a yoga teacher for many years, I stopped saying how long, it's getting embarrassing. As I've noticed as a yoga teacher that most of my students come initially to deal with the body. So there's maybe some stiffness or tightness in the body or some injury that they're trying to heal. And then what keeps people staying, I mean, sure, it may have great benefit on the body, but what I find that over time, what people tend to appreciate when they stay with the practice is the effects on the mind and on the nervous system. So that kind of ability to feel a little more relaxed, a little more present with ourselves. And so the mindfulness aspect of that is what helps us to kind of find that place of peace. But we have these bodies and our bodies get agitated. They don't like sitting around. They don't like being overworked. So our bodies need to be pacified or our minds are not going to get on board. So it's like this whole package, the body, the breath, the mind, the emotions and spirit, all start to work together in harmony. And when that happens, that's when we feel really good in ourselves, right? When we're doing one thing, thinking or stressing about something else, it's incongruent, and our body-mind connection feels that incongruence, and it creates this sense of less ease or less peace. When we're doing something and our mind is engaged fully in that, there is this sense of flowing, of things flowing with ease. So, you know, and there have been studies actually that show that if we're engaged physically in something and our mind is engaged with that as well, there's a certain sense of peace and calm. Now, if we're engaged in something and we're thinking about something happy and good and wonderful, it actually doesn't benefit us any more than being present with whatever boring thing we're doing. Now, if we're thinking about something stressful that's not conducive to feeling at peace, of course, it's also going to have a negative effect on us. So the idea is no matter how bored we are, no matter, you know, we're doing the dishes, we're doing the laundry, that we're present. And that in itself, just being present with the task that we're doing is what is going to help us to feel that sense of congruence, that sense of being aligned in ourselves. And it's that sense that brings peace, right? Not lots of money, although it probably doesn't hurt, but really it's about being at one with ourselves. So we're going to start lying down on the mat. So you can go ahead and get comfortable. So as you come to lie down, you can have your knees bent if that's comfortable for you. If not, legs straight is fine. Let your hands come to rest on your body. And we'll take a few minutes today to check in, to go over those aspects that I mentioned earlier. A really thorough check-in of how we're doing. So we'll start with the outermost level or layer of our being, which is the body. That physical, in the world presence of our body. So take a moment to tune into your body. Notice the feeling of your body against the ground. You might feel the pressure on certain parts of your body. Also, be aware that some parts of your body may feel numb, you may feel disconnected from parts of your body. There might not be much or any sensation in some areas of your body. And know that that's really normal. And most of us tend to ignore our bodies until they hurt. Right? So just tuning into what you do notice in your body, what you are aware of. Any sensations. And you might notice if there are areas of your body that feel tense or tight, uncomfortable or painful, those areas tend to draw your attention. And that's fine. We're not trying to stop the mind from going there. Just notice. And then if you notice some area of your body that's tense or tight or uncomfortable, see if you can follow that up with noticing an area of your body that feels neutral or good, that maybe feels open or relaxed, if you've got those spots in your body as well. And kind of pendulate back and forth. So notice an area that's not so comfortable, and then see if you can tune into an area that is comfortable. And just go back and forth. And if there's not areas that fit into those two categories, just simply notice what is. So I'll give you a minute or so. Just notice your body. And then shift your focus to your breath. So the breath moves the body. Feel that rhythm, that movement that's uniquely your own. Feel your breath moving under your hands if your hands are resting on your body. Maybe notice where the breath moves more or moves first. And everything we discover today, just like every day, ideally, is without judgment. There's not right or wrong here. And then letting go of the focus on the breath, let your attention be tuned into the thoughts in your mind. So simply notice the thoughts, maybe as if they were clouds rolling by or a movie playing. Just being quiet for a moment and just noticing those thoughts as they pass through on their own. Not giving them your attention, not following them along, just noticing. And you might notice that it's difficult not to get engaged with your thoughts. It's difficult not to follow them along. And if you catch yourself going down the garden path with your thoughts, that's fine. Don't beat yourself up. We're not trying to stop our minds. We're just trying to bring our attention back to the present when we notice that we've gone elsewhere. And let's let that go for now and simply tune into any emotions that are present. Maybe you've come to class today from some heavy or big emotion and it's still with you as you check in. Maybe you feel a bit flat or dull. Notice that. Perhaps you simply feel content, at ease in this moment. Notice that. And whatever you notice, bring to that noticing empathy and compassion. We're not trying to change anything, just tuning in and noticing. And that deepest level of spirit, it's not something that we can tune into and notice, but when we come into alignment with our bodies, our breath, our thoughts, our emotions, when we feel aligned, when we feel in that sense of flow, that's when we really start to feel the presence of spirit or our connection with ourselves and one another. So whatever you experience today, whatever you notice, bring to that as much love and compassion as you can. I'm going to start a little bit of movement now. You can start by inviting your knees to come up into your chest and doing a little stretch to your back and maybe rock a bit from side to side to relax and massage the big muscles that support your spine, just as long as that feels good for you. It depends on the shape of your spine and whether or not it's comfortable rocking here in this position. You can always try moving the knees a little further away and maybe circling around if that feels better. If you're circling around, you might do a few circles in each direction. I'm really going to encourage and invite you today to stay connected to what you feel in your body. If that feels uncomfortable for any reason, you might instead tune into your breath. But either way, the breath and the body are always in the present moment. Right? So when we're focused on the breath, focused on the body, we're focused on the moment. And in that way, we bring the mind, we bring the body, we bring the breath together. Right. When you're ready, you can slowly release your feet to the ground. We're going to roll over onto one side and come up to sit now. So if you want to sit on a chair, you're welcome to do that. If you are comfortable sitting on the floor, you can sit on the ground, either with a cushion or maybe a blanket underneath you for a little support under your hips, or just right on the ground if that's comfortable. Cross legs, legs stretched out, doesn't matter. Again, more important that you're comfortable than in any specific shape or form. So as you come to this position, feel your pelvis as much as possible evenly. So you're not leaning to one side or the other on the pelvis, and you're not leaning forward or back. So the weight is on those two bones that kind of poke out the bottom of your pelvis, called the everyday term is sit bones or sits bones. Ischial tuberosities would be the official name. So finding those 2 points and letting your weight sink down into those 2 points while at the same time feeling a bit of lift through the upper body, through the crown of your head. And then we'll start to bring in subtle movement. So lifting the heart, drawing the shoulders down and back, finding a little arch in the back, and then a little rounding, chin tucking in slightly. And then reversing. So it's just like the cat-cow we do on all fours and will do later, only seated. So you can inhale as you arch, exhale as you round, but if you find that coordinating the breath doesn't work for you, if the pacing isn't right, just breathe normally and move at a pace that's comfortable for you. We're going to add in some movement with the arms. So now as you inhale and lift the chest, you're going to bring the arms into this goalpost position and then bring the hands to the thighs, head down. Inhale, expansion. Exhale, rounding. Wonderful. And then leaving the hands down, coming back to a neutral position for the spine. And we'll bring the palms together, putting a little pressure against the hands to feel the stretch in the wrists and forearms. You can keep the bases of your fingers together and separate the heels of your hands a little to feel some stretch more in the fingers, just being very gentle, not overstretching. And then release that pressure, turn your fingers down, bring the backs of the hands together, and a little gentle pressure there. And then you can roll the hands around, just separate the hands and circle them. Circle one way and then the other. And then bringing the hands right out in front of you, make your hands into fists, and then take your fists and move them down so they're pointing more towards the ground. Feeling some stretch across the top of the wrist maybe here. And then we're going to take the hands and open them up and push out. And then tuck your fingers in, start to roll the wrist down as you draw the hands back toward your body. And then again, press out with open palms, draw in with closed fists. Right, and then just having the hands in front with your fists closed, do a few circles. You can circle one way and then the other. And then we're going to take the arms and press them out to the sides, fingers pointing toward the ceiling. And there's a tendency for the shoulders to scrunch up here. So I encourage you to drop the shoulders down. Even if that means dropping the arms a bit, that's fine. Fingertips up to feel some stretch. Spread your fingers wide. And then we're going to circle your arms around. So the whole arm circling. So a couple things, your arms will get tired. We'll do this for a bit. Your arms will get tired, and there's a couple things you can do. If you feel like you're straining, clamping your jaw or creating tension to continue with the movement, take a break and then come back to it. And if you feel like you can dig a little deeper, keep going and relax any tension that starts to creep in while you stay with the effort, you can try that option. So circle the other way if you haven't switched directions. Make the circles a little bigger. So again, check in for tension. If there's tension, take a break and then come back to it. If you can relax that tension while maintaining the effort, you can go ahead and try that. Circle bigger circles in the other direction. All right, and then back to the center. Press out, fingers moving back towards your face. Couple more breaths here. And then relax your hands, just let them flop down. You can give them a little shake. And then slowly, slowly, slowly let your arms come down till your hands rest somewhere on your thighs or your knees. Pause for a moment. You can close your eyes if you like. And notice the sensations in your arms. So hopefully you listened to your body. You didn't overdo it so that there's no pain there or tension. But you may feel a little tingling, a little openness. So just tuning in and noticing what's present. Great. So we're going to come around onto all fours now. So you can make your way onto hands and knees. You want your hands underneath your shoulders, knees under your hips in the tabletop position. And we will spend a little bit of time in this position today, so I encourage you to take breaks whenever you need to, if you need a little bit of relief for your wrists. So starting with an inhale, lifting the heart. Good. And then as you exhale, rounding the back and moving to child's pose, or you can stay upright if that's more comfortable. And we'll continue like that, breathing in and then breathing out. And if you like, you can rest for a few breaths in child's pose. This would be a nice opportunity to take the weight off your wrists and maybe do a few circles if you feel like that would be helpful. You could rest your head on your hands or on the ground. And simply tuning into the feeling of the movement of the breath here. So there's a little bit of constriction with the breath in child's pose. So notice where you do feel the movement of the breath. Right. Couple more breaths in child's pose. And then when you're ready, we'll come back up to all fours and we're going to do another movement from all fours. So we'll be working with one leg at a time. And the idea here is you're going to stretch one leg back, and it doesn't need to be higher than parallel to the ground. Parallel to the ground is great. Lower is fine too. You're going to flex your foot so the toes point down, and you want to internally rotate the leg a little bit so the toes are pointing straight down as opposed to out to the side. And that brings levelness across the back of the hips. From here, you'll point your toes as you draw the knee in towards your nose. And then stretch out and flex your foot as you lift the chest a little. So you can breathe in as you move the leg back, breathe out as you bring the leg in. Again, if you get tired, and this can be a little tiring, as long as it's not painful, check in. Can you release tension, stay with the effort? If not, you might just take a break for a moment and then come back to it. Right, you can hold the leg back there for a moment, reaching back. Great. And then release. So before we go to the other side, a couple of rounds of inhaling and exhaling, flexing and rounding, or moving to child's pose on your exhalation if you prefer. And then we'll come back up to all fours and we'll work with the other side. So you'll start by stretching the leg back, rotating a little bit inward with the hips so the toes point straight down. And again, you don't need to be way up here with your leg, better to be just parallel to the ground or lower. And then from there, you can point your toes as you draw the knee in, exhaling as you come in, inhaling as you flex and press out. Point and draw in, flex and press out. Some more things we have to think about as we're practicing, like what's happening with my foot, what's happening with my breath, what's happening with this movement. It helps to keep the mind engaged. However, if there are too many balls to juggle, then we can start dropping them. Right, so if I asked you to now also think about something in particular as you do this, or visualize something, or count, you might think, gosh, that's way too much, and start to check out. So you just choose the number of balls that work for you. If that's just breathing and moving, great. Let's now come back to all fours. Do some circles to release the hips and low back. Just gentle circles around. After a few times, one direction, go the other way. And I, again, encourage you to stay really tuned into what you notice. What does it feel like on your knees? Maybe as you discover that, you'll want more padding. How does it feel on your hips, your back, your wrists, your arms? Great, coming back to the center. Let's keep the hips over the knees and release the elbows down to the ground. If it's comfortable for you, you can let the elbows come out to the sides, head come onto your hands for a moment. Take a couple of breaths here. If you find child's pose more comfortable, you can always shift your hips back onto your heels and rest in child's pose. And then when you're ready, we're going to make our way upright. So from child's pose, come back up to all fours. You can either tuck your toes under or step your feet under you, or however you want to get to a forward bend. So take your time, and we're all going to end up together in this nice, easy forward bend. You can bring your elbows up onto your thighs, let your head release down for a few breaths. Keep your knees quite bent, so we're not trying to stretch the legs out here, just really making our transition nice and slow and easeful as we come upright. Now, as long as you don't have any issues with the discs of your back, you can roll upright. If you're not sure or your back sometimes does funny things on you, I would say just come upright with a nice long back. Otherwise, you can let the arms dangle round your back, keep your head down, and slowly come upright. So as you come up onto your feet, just take a moment to, again, come to mountain pose and observe. So what do you notice? So right now, the thing I'm most aware of is it's really hot standing in front of the fire. So you might notice for you some things like, what is the temperature like? The front of my body feels a different temperature than the back of my body. You might notice your feet on the ground. You might notice your breath. So just notice what is present for you right now. And again, if you notice things that feel uncomfortable, that feel challenging, please try to let go of any judgment or any shoulds, right? Oh, I should or shouldn't feel this way. Just let all that go and become a completely neutral observer of your experience. So I'm sharing my mat now, but hopefully I'll be able to make this work. So we're going to take the feet a little bit wider, hands coming to the hips, and soft knees. And we're going to start by taking the hips one way and the other. And see if you can imagine your head staying over your navel. So your hips and lower body are moving. Your upper body really is staying pretty centered over the middle of your body. Right? So the difference would be if we were to kind of let the whole upper body swing. Right? So just tipping the hips one way and the other a little bit. And notice how that feels. Can you feel the movement in the actual joint of your hip? What are you aware of as you do this movement? And then shift that into a circle. Just circle your hips around and see how that changes the experience. What are you aware of now in your hips as you move? And then if you switch and go the other way, what do you feel? What are you aware of? What do you notice? Great. And then let's come right back to the center. Let the arms come down to your sides. Feel like you can actually take the feet a little bit wider now, whatever's comfortable for you. We'll inhale and lift both arms up. And as you exhale, you'll release one arm and let your body reach over to the other side. Now we're trying to keep the hips and legs pretty level and even, and just work with the upper body. We'll come back up to center, soft knees, so you're not locking, and then release to the other side. You're not trying to go as far as you can, just a nice, easeful side bend, sweeping one way and the other. If you want to coordinate breath, inhale up, exhale to the side. But as always, if that feels uncomfortable, unnatural, doesn't work for you, just breathe normally. Move at a pace that's comfortable. Okay, at this time, if it feels right for you, you can stay for a few breaths. Try to just let that lower arm hang. Reach up with the upper arm. Take a few breaths here and just notice what you're aware of. What do you feel in your body? How is your breath affected by being in this pose? Coming up to the center, and then we'll switch. The other arm just hanging down as you reach up, the opposite arm, and notice, what are you aware of? What is present with you, for you right now? All right, let's come up with both arms, and we're going to do a few forward bends, sweeping the arms down, keeping the knees bent. You can either stop at the thighs or reach toward the ground. And then you'll come all the way up, and we'll repeat that a few times. Flowing either with the breath or at a pace that's comfortable for you. As long as you're breathing, it really doesn't matter how you breathe. And so often we coordinate the breath and movement because it does help to keep the mind engaged. However, if that's a strain or feels like you're awkwardly moving at a weird pace, then it's absolutely not worth it. Okay, if it feels good for you, you can stay in that forward bend. I really like the option to have either the hands or forearms on the thighs, but it's also nice to just dangle down to see what feels right for you. We'll take a few breaths here. If you have issues with high blood pressure or any kind of head pressure, you're definitely going to want to keep your head above your heart. That's a general rule, so you don't want to increase the pressure in your head if you've got, an earache or a headache or sinus issues, anything like that. Then when you're ready to come up, you'll come up with a breath in, reaching up overhead, and then exhaling to release. And stepping your feet together. And try a few circles for your shoulders. You can do the shoulder rotation evenly, both shoulders together, or if you like, you can separate and alternate the shoulders, one and then the other. And then whatever way you're going, go the other direction a few times as well. Right, and coming back to the center. So taking your feet again underneath your hips, pressing your heels down into the earth and feeling a little rebound action of lifting up towards the ceiling with your head. And again, take a moment to check in and see what you're aware of, what you notice in your body, in your breath. Excellent. So we're going to work a little bit with balance now. So here's where it may be helpful for you to have a chair. It'll be more helpful in a moment. So you can decide if you want a chair now, if you want to wait. So what we'll do is raise up the arms with the breath in, and we're going to shift the weight to one foot and lift the knee towards the hand. So you can either bring your hand under the knee or just touch the thigh, even keeping your toes on the ground, or you might reach right around and bring the knee up in towards your chest. So we'll alternate a few times. So you'll drop down with the foot, lift up with the arms, And then other side, coming in any amount that feels right for you. Just getting used to this idea of balancing on one foot. Great. And then make this your last one. Bring the foot down and we'll release the arms down. Great. So I'm just going to shift the camera a little bit because see, my arms are getting cut off. And for the next movement, you'll probably want to see a little more of me. So I'm going to demonstrate this with a chair and then without a chair, so you can decide what's going to work for you. So with a chair, it's pretty much very similar to what we were doing on all fours. Instead of being on all fours, you'll be in this position. Well, you are still on all fours, they're just different four. Instead of your knees, it'll be your feet. And what you'll do is come from this position out to this position. So what we get now is just a little more stretch in the hamstrings in doing it that way. If you feel a little braver and you want to try this without the chair, I'll demonstrate that option. So you'd come into this position that we were just in, kind of leaning into the leg now, and then from there, straight back with the leg as you reach forward into Warrior Three. So we'd be going back and forth from this kind of position to this kind of position. So as you can see, it's going to be quite a bit simpler with the hands on the chair. So I'll let you decide how you want to work with this posture. Get yourself set up if you have a chair or need a chair. You could also do this to a countertop or whatever sort of at a good height for you. And I'm going to follow along without the chair, but you please feel free to do what's right for you. So if you're coming to a chair, we'll lift up first. You'll exhale and bring your hands onto your chair. And from there, it's bringing one knee in, stretching it out, and we'll do several times on one side. And if you're joining me free form without the chair, we'll inhale and lift. Exhale, knee in. Inhale, stretch back into Warrior Three. Exhale, back, knee in. If you lose your balance, don't worry about it. Don't let your mind carry you off. Just come back into the movement. If you get tired, again, ask yourself, can I continue and let go of the tension? Or do I need to take a break? Great, so the next time, instead of keeping the leg up in the air as you step back, you'll bring it to the ground. So if your hands are on a chair, you'll be a little more over, or if you've been upright, you're just gonna come into this position upright. If you're on a chair or standing, you're gonna lift right up into Warrior One. Great, so from Warrior One, you're going to make your hands into fists and pull down with your fists. Reach up, opening the hands. Exhale as if you're pulling something down from above. You know those machines at the gym? Maybe you don't know them. It's been a long time since I've done that, but I remember pulling down. Great. And then here, you can open the hands. I'll turn to face you. So in Warrior, hands open out to the side. And we'll bring the arms in, out to the side, and in. Good. And then reaching out and release. You can step your feet together. Pause for a moment. Notice maybe one side feels a little different from the other after doing These poses only on one side so far. Well, we will do the other side, of course. So again, use your chair if that's where you're at today. Try to do that without any judgment. Right? Wherever you're at is just perfect. And if you want to follow along without a chair and work on balance, then feel free to do that. So working with the other side now. So if you're coming to a chair, you'll inhale up, you'll exhale and bring your hands to the chair, and you'll begin from there with the other leg this time. And if you're joining me without the chair, you'll lift up, breathing in, exhale, knee in, inhale, stretch back. I really encourage you to keep a little softness in the standing leg. The more you lock that knee, the more likely you are to lose your balance. So just like we did before, you can point the toes as you come in, flex as you reach back. Maybe one more. And this time we'll make our way to warrior one. So you're just going to step back, placing the foot so it's on a slight angle to the side so your whole foot can be down, raising the arms up. And then from here, reaching up as if you're reaching for two bungee cords above you and pulling them down to your sides. And then reaching up and pulling down. You can open your hands as you reach and pull down. And then staying here, arms out to the sides. You can open the hands, breathing in as you open and take the elbows back and down. Exhale, elbows coming towards each other and hands. So inhale, open. Exhale, coming in. Notice where your attention is. If it's wandering away, gently nudge it back with kindness, with compassion, with care and love. Great, opening the arms and we'll release down. And again, you can step your feet back in underneath. Oops, stood on her little ear. Underneath your hips. And let's bend and straighten the legs a couple of times. And then we'll do a few forward bends. So always with soft knees, lifting up as you breathe in. You're going to bend your knees and sweep the arms down towards the ground, letting your back lengthen and release. And then inhale with a nice long, strong back lifting. Reaching up and repeating that movement again. Exhale forward. Head releasing. Inhale and lifting. Exhale, releasing. Great, coming upright and this time staying up and releasing your arms down to your sides. Let your arms hang now. And again, take a moment, notice your body. What are you aware of now after about 45 minutes of movement? When you tune into your breath, what are you aware of there? It doesn't have to be anything profound. You might just think to yourself, I notice I'm breathing. That's great. Notice your mind. Where is your mind? What is the quality of your mind? Is it focused? Is it busy? Is it very full or is it expansive? Okay, and we're going to do a little breath with a gesture, and the idea is that with this gesture, we're bringing together the body, the breath, the mind, the emotions into this place around the heart where we often think of as our sort of center, our spiritual center around the heart. So taking the arms up as if we're gathering all of those aspects of ourselves, bringing the hands together and coming down to rest at the heart as if we're bringing our full selves to attention, bringing our full selves into alignment with spirit, with heart, with mind, breath, and body. And then releasing, we'll do that again. Breathing in, gathering ourselves into our wholeness. Hands to heart, pause here. Again, releasing, we'll lift, bringing our full selves, our entire attention into this moment. Pausing here in this alignment with ourselves for a few more breaths. And releasing. So we're going to make our way back down onto the ground now. Let's see if I can get my real estate back here. All right, miss, up you get. Up you get. Come on. There you go. There you go. Oh, oh, downward dog, upward dog. Where you go. Go into bed. That's it, girl. No, 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 no. On your bed. Oh, good girl. So we'll come back down onto the mat, coming back into the position that we started in. Feet on the floor, hands resting on the body. Bringing a little bit more awareness to the breath, body, and movement here. So now as you exhale, gently pressing into the feet till your lower back flattens, the belly hollows a bit, the tailbone might slightly lift, and then relax as you inhale. Exhale, press into your feet, lengthen and flatten the lower back. And it's just this very subtle pelvic rocking motion. Again, bringing those pieces together, the breath, the movement, the attention. So that ideally the mind stays connected to this moment, no matter how boring it is. Studies have shown that even if this moment is boring, if we pay attention to it, it helps us to reach a greater level of peace and contentment than if we're doing something boring and thinking about something else. Couple more breaths. And then keeping that breath very subtly moving with that movement. You can let your hands come to the ground now, a little away from your body. So palms face the ceiling, arms are just a few inches or more away from your body. And we'll start to work with adding a bridge pose into this movement. So if you need to shift your feet so they're in a comfortable position for bridge, feel free to shift. Generally, the knees are right over the ankles or slightly further away if that's necessary for you. And then at some point after you've finished an exhale, when you've got that pressure in your feet and the lower back is grounded, you'll start to slowly lift up. And you'll take several breaths, in fact, to lift your hips up. So take your time. And it doesn't matter how high you lift, you're going so slowly so you can really check in what feels good to me. Make sure your neck is happy. If you've got something under your head and it's pushing your chin into your chest, you may want to remove that. And then you're going to slowly come down, just as slowly as you lift it up, releasing the back bit by bit, vertebra by vertebra. Lowering down, you can take a couple of breaths when you come down. Come back to that subtle rocking motion. Follow your own rhythm. And then at some point after an exhale, you'll come back into that slow moving bridge. Lifting up over at least a few breaths, maybe staying for a breath or two at the top of the pose, and then slowly lowering down. And pause at the bottom as well to take a few breaths. And make the one that you're on the last one. So whether you're lifting or lowering, next time you come down to the mat, go ahead and stay there. Take a couple of easeful breaths. And then when you feel ready, you can add a gentle twist. So letting the knees go one way as you perhaps take the head the other way if that feels good for your body, your spine, your neck. You'll inhale to center and exhale to go the opposite way. Move at your own pace. If following your breath is comfortable, follow your breath. Otherwise, just move at the pace that's right for you. Listening and tuning in, checking in with your body, what would feel good. Could be a few more rounds dynamically moving side to side, or you might choose to stay for a few breaths each side in the twist. When you feel complete with the twist, you come back to the center. You'll draw your knees in, one hand on each knee, and drawing the legs towards you as you exhale, straightening the arms, moving the knees away as you inhale. And continuing with that pattern, if that feels good, and otherwise, any other movement here on your back with your knees to your chest that would feel good. So we're really just trying to bring the lower back to a feeling of being long and aligned after the twist. If there's other movements that would feel good to you here, take a minute or two to explore whatever might feel good to you. And we will move next into Shavasana. So finding a comfortable position. For most people, that's lying down on the back, but it could be another lying down position or a seated posture. Give you a minute to get comfortable in whatever position you want to be in for a little meditation, relaxation. As always, make sure that you're warm enough so that your body can really relax. If you're cold, it's not very relaxing. And whenever you find your way to stillness and you get comfortable, I invite you to come back to a gentle focus on the breath. So you're breathing in normally, you're breathing out normally, but let your focus be on the exhale and a sense of dropping. So as you exhale, letting go of any tension that you're aware of in your muscles, so that each exhalation feels like it drops you into the earth a little bit. You might be aware of the feeling of the ground beneath your body supporting you, and feeling as though all of the points of contact that your body makes with the earth start to melt a little bit with each exhalation. So you're exhaling and softening, dropping and letting go with each exhalation. Really soften your jaw now. Separate the surfaces of your teeth so there's no temptation to clench your jaw. Soften around your mouth, around your eyes, across your forehead. And let the weight of your head sink down. Allow the muscles of your throat and neck to soften. Shoulders and arms let go. And feel that letting go extend right to your fingertips. There's no clenching in your hands. Just a softening and letting go. Let your rib cage soften. The belly and lower back release. And allow the pelvis to be heavy. Let go of any holding around the pelvis and the hips, the lower abdomen, the pelvic floor. And as you release any tension and holding, feel how the pelvis just drops and gets even heavier. Relax your thighs. See if you can soften your knees and release your calves, your ankles, your feet right to your toes. Exhale, let your legs drop down even more. And the mind is engaged with whatever we're doing. When it's fully engaged, we come to a greater sense of peace and ease and flow always. The practice of yoga is encouraging the mind to stay present with the body, with the breath, with the emotions, and whatever arises. And this is outlined beautifully in the second sutra of the 195 Yoga Sutras. And I'll repeat this as a chant for you several times, defining yoga as the ability to bring the mind into alignment with what we're doing, to be focused in the present moment. Yogaschitta vritti nirodha. 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 Notice where your attention is right now. And if it's wandered away, kindly and gently encourage it back to the breath for a moment, back to your body. The feeling of the rhythm of the breath in your own body, and let that rhythm deepen now. Let your breath get a little deeper. If you prefer to stay longer in Shavasana, just ignore me. You can sign out or stop the recording if you're watching later, or simply ignore me. And if you're ready to move on with your day, you can add a little movement. You can wiggle your fingers and toes or circle your ankles and wrists to start to wake up the energy in your body. Gradually moving and stretching in any way that would feel good to you. Eventually, if you're lying down, you can roll onto one side and pause there for a moment. And then slowly making your way back to a seated position when you're ready. We all tend to feel more at peace, more at ease when our thoughts, our bodies, our emotions, our words, our intentions are all in alignment. Right? So if we're doing something and thinking something else, similarly, if we're thinking something but saying something different, so if there's a misalignment somewhere in ourselves, it creates so much disharmony. So our greatest goal is to simply be as present as possible with ourselves to create this harmonious, beautiful place of alignment within ourselves. So let's do this gesture one more time where we reach the arms up as if we're gathering these aspects of ourselves as if they were separate. They're not. They're all part of one whole. Bringing them together and reminding ourselves to reach that greater sense of peace and alignment in ourselves. We need to focus on bringing all of those pieces together in each moment. So the body, the mind, the breath, the emotions, but in particular, keeping the mind steady with whatever we're doing. It takes practice. And if you find that when you start to do this kind of practice and really focus on the mind, that you are so aware of how busy your mind is, it's okay, it's normal. Our minds are these crazy busy places. And when we tune into that, we can really realize what a storm is in there. But with diligent, regular practice, we can start to bring ourselves back to that sense of being aligned, where all of our pieces and parts work together. Namaste. Hope you have a beautiful day that feels full of alignment and peace and all goodness.